Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Couric.
Hi, everyone. Mark Twain once wrote, "The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug." Well, lucky for us, Nancy Gibbs, the editor of Time magazine and the first woman in history to hold that position, is always able to find the right words at the right time. Her range is absolutely dazzling, whether she's covering Pope Francis, the Ebola virus, women's reproductive rights, or any of the myriad of topics in her well over 100 cover stories. Nancy is the Steph Curry of the written word. Every piece is nothing but net. My husband helped me with that one. Good writing requires being able to synthesize information from a variety of sources and stringing words together to form well-constructed sentences that help us understand an issue, idea, or person. But great writing, truly great writing, requires so much more: compassion, sensitivity, insight, perspective, humility, and wisdom. Nancy is a great writer because she is the perfect combination of head and heart. Her former editor, Walter Isaacson, described her as, quote, "our principal moral compass helping us wrestle with today's complexities." Her longtime colleague and co-author Mike Duffy calls her one of the best reporters and editors of our generation. And Jim Kelly, another former boss, told me, quote, "there are so many in journalism who let their skepticism always trump their empathy, and that's a recipe for cynicism. Nancy has always balanced her formidable intelligence with a deep and abiding empathy for her subject." But don't take my word or their words even for it. Listen to how she opened Time's 9/11 cover story. It was a single topic, the best-selling issue in the magazine's history. "If you want to humble an empire, it makes sense to maim its cathedrals. They are symbols of its faith, and when they crumple and burn, it tells us we are not so powerful and we can't be safe. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, planted at the base of Manhattan Island with the Statue of Liberty as their sentry, and the Pentagon, a squat concrete fort on the banks of the Potomac, are the sanctuaries of money and power that our enemies may imagine define us. But that assumes our faith rests on what we can buy and build, and that has never been America's true God. On a normal day, we value heroism because it is uncommon. On September 11th, we valued heroism because it was everywhere." That, my friends, is great, even transcendent writing. Nancy's star, though, shines equally bright when writing about the personal. Her back-page essays made us feel that somehow, some way, she is peering directly into our souls as she explores what it's like to simply be human. Longing for Summers That Don't Matter is a kind of protest against our children's lives and their over-programmed lives. She urges them to, quote, "be bored and see where it takes you, because the imagination's dusty wilderness is worth crossing if you want to sculpt your soul." I recently reread her essay about losing her father called "The Light of Death," and I cried again, because that's what great writing does. The more I thought about it, the more I concluded that Nancy is somehow a cross between a poet and a pastor, her unique voice guiding us through events big and small. Finding just the right word isn't just lightning, Mr. Twain. It's lightning in a bottle, and Nancy manages to capture it time and time again. Get it? Time and time again? I kind of thought that was cute. I cannot think of anyone better to protect and preserve great journalism or be in the driver's seat of this storied news magazine, especially as we all hold on for dear life and traverse the constantly shifting media landscape, because Nancy's talents as a leader equal her talents as a writer, reporter, and editor. And since she's written both about Bruce Springsteen and Lady Gaga, I thought it would be really special I'm kidding. You all just got so excited, didn't you? This is as good as it gets, sister. But it is truly my honor and pleasure to present a 2016 Matrix Award to the truly amazing and extraordinary Nancy Gibbs.
Time after time, if you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. Time after time, if you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time.
There's nothing like being embarrassed by the very best in the business. Katie, as much as I have always admired your brains and your fierce charm and work ethic, what I've come to really appreciate recently, given the environment we all face, is that you are an explorer. You are fearless as a Viking and always experimenting, and we all can learn so much by watching you. I'm mainly so overwhelmed with gratitude, I could spend all my time thanking the people in this room, my immensely creative and infinitely patient husband, and the daughters of whom we're so proud, and my colleagues at Time and Time Inc. who face every day with passion and purpose. This lunch honors women in communication, and on this stage and in this room are some of the most potent women ever to communicate anything, anywhere, at any time in history, because your voices and your visions travel further and faster than ever before. You don't command armies, but you command audiences, and so there is great power in this room. I'm grateful for the way you've changed how we talk about gender and race and ethnicity and social justice and human rights. I'm grateful for the work so many of you have done in print, on TV, in movies, in marketing, in all media, so that now we can see men and women, black and white, straight and gay, rich and poor, just as people, not as characters or cartoons. But as much as we have to celebrate, we are now also find ourselves in the midst of this extraordinary conversation because this is an election year. And this is when we search our national soul and test our instincts and probe our weaknesses and with any luck find our strengths. This political season has been so different from anything we've ever seen. It's like it was expertly designed not to bring us together, but to tear us apart. So I actually think we all want our country to be great, and our children to be safe, and our economy to both strong and fair. But you would never know it to listen to the way we've been talking to each other this season. So I take this as a challenge and an invitation to all of us. We've been talking all through this luncheon about being storytellers. That's our line of work. And if you have children or you ever were a child or a teacher, you know the power of stories. It's how we make sense of the world. We knew there was a refugee problem, but it was the story of 3-year-old Ilan Kurdi in his red t-shirt and his Velcro sneakers that told us that this was an emergency. We could debate a problem like police brutality, but it was the story of Freddie Gray and Michael Brown and Tamir Rice that completely changed the conversation. And if stories of tragedy help us to learn, stories of success give us the tools to succeed, stories of goodness inspire us to be good, and stories of courage help us to be brave. If we want to solve problems, scale solutions, share systems, we have to be storytellers. That's a truth as old as the campfire and as new as a tweet, that it does not matter how good your idea is or your product is or your technology is, if you can't tell a story about how it works and why it matters. So for you extraordinary women who we're honoring today with the scholarships for all of you who yourselves once debated or whose children are debating whether to major in English or engineering, let me give you hope. The future belongs to those who can excite and inspire. It is waiting to be written and told, and you should be the storytellers. Thank you.